In the previous tutorial, we created this sheet. I didn't finish saving it, so I'm going to save it. Once again, I'd already done a save as, and then I'm going to load it into our project. And then it's saying I can't create this kind of element in this view, and of course it can't do it in a 3D view, but it did load into our sheets that particular template. So I'm going to go to new sheet, and you'll see 33 by 60. I'm going to say OK. This previous sheet, I'm going to delete it, and I'm going to rename this because I don't want it named in that kind of convention. So I'm going to rename. There we go. And the number, I'm just going to show put the number in as 01, so it's sheet 1, and building typology study, since that's the title of my project. Okay, and so now I have a sheet within the file, and I'm ready to put views into the file. So I'm going to minimize this down, or actually even close it, and let's talk about creating views now for to put into this sheet so we can print it out. And to do that, I'm going to close that family, get back to here, and one of the first views that we want to create in this particular case is the structural floor plan, a typical structural floor plan. So I'm going to minimize this. This is my last. Yeah, let's back up. And so to make a floor plan, a typical floor plan, I'm going to use the second level with the here, and I'm going to click on second level, and we can see that we have, this is what our second level floor plan looks like, and we're going to clean it up and do some things to make it into a view. But before I do that, I always like to keep these first views I make as working views and then create presentation views. So what I'm going to do is duplicate this view, okay, with detailing, so that any of the details like these dimensions or anything I might have put in there will also be saved in this duplication. If I do duplicate without detailing, then any kind of text or detailing that I may have put into the drawing will be dropped from it. So I'm going to say duplicate, and the first thing I'm going to do is look at the cropped area, okay, and this is the cropped area. This is what makes up the view out of this infinite sheet that could be here. This is what makes up this plan view right now. There are a few things that I don't want in them, so I'm going to turn them off, and one are these elevation. I want to keep the elevation, but I don't want these markers in there. So I'm going to go to the view, edit, and go into annotation categories and go down here to elevations, okay, elevation tags, and I'm going to say apply that, turn them off, apply that, and notice they've disappeared. The second thing is that I'm probably not going to do this as a medium view because there's too many lines representing everything. So I'm going to change this from a fine or medium to a coarse. And when we do that, we can see now the structure is just a series of lines, which actually reads better. Okay, and of course we can label what these lines are, and this is for the most part what most engineering structural drawings look like. So I'm going to do this and move now these tags a little bit closer so they don't take up quite so much space, just to kind of clean that up. I'm also going to, on these sections here, I'm going to move them in, and I want to keep these section lines there, but I want to move them. And then same thing here, I'm going to move these a little bit closer too. And I may regret that later, but I don't think so. Same thing here. Okay. whoops, this one isn't locked to those, so I'm going to move it until it, and then it should lock. Okay, so now when I move them, they'll all be moved. So this looks even a little bit better now. This maybe should be a little bit closer, and I'm kind of happy with this layout. So the next thing I'm going to do is do a little bit of labeling and on the project. First, I'm going to put some dimensions in. So that can be found either in the annotate tab right here, or some of the annotations are right up here, such as text, and here's dimensions, align dimensions. And so I'm going to do an aligned dimension, and I'm just going to very quickly, okay, dimension here, here, and here, and here, here, and here. And I'm going to do an overall dimension down here, okay, and I can already see kind of a little error that I want to fix. If we scroll in real quickly and get out of dimensions, hit the escape key twice, and we'll see that this is 35 feet 11 and 11/32, which is not what it should be at all. In a previous video we fixed this. I should have checked this dimension too to make sure that it also was 36 feet, which evidently it was not. And so I'm going to have to move one of these grid lines to make this 36 so that the bays or the dimensions are correct. You don't go in and change in CAD and definitely in Revit. You don't just go in and change a dimension. You correct the model because you want the model to be correct. So to add, we need to add here 11 and so 21/32 to this in order to get it to 36 feet. So we're going to go in here and hit move. We're going to select that, and I'm going to type in 21 slash 30 seconds. Make sure I put an inch marker there. Now it's going to take a minute to do this, and the reason it takes a little bit of time is because it's also going back and moving all of those elements, all those columns, beams, floor slabs, all those other elements that we designed in our building. It's moving those because they're locked to this grid line, or they're locked to elements that are locked to the grid line. And so now all of our other drawings should be corrected. And that's the beauty of a Revit model or even a BIM model, any BIM model, whether it's over just a conventional model. So now we have some dimensions in here. The next thing we're going to do is I'm going to put some labels in. So I'm going to go back to annotate, and you'll see here text. And for this, probably 3/36" text, it will work great. And I'm going to just click right here and type in wide flange, and I can't remember what beyond the wide flange, what size that is. So I'm going to click on this W12/16. Okay, so let's go back. Wide flange W12/16. And I need to stretch this out. So now I may not know what this is pointing to. So what I'm going to do is come in here and put a leader on this, and I'm just going to put, I'm going to add it to the right side, and it's a curved leader rather than a straight leader, and it's got an arrow on it. I'll show you in a minute how to change that. So now if I got this, I can go in and Control C and Control V. Okay, and we'll put it over here. also pointing to that. I may want additional. The other way I can do it is to hold the Control T down and do a move. Control T down and do a move. Okay. Whoops. Control key down and do a move. Oh, I'll have to turn. Well, maybe I can do a Control key move. Let's see here. Oh, I just had to get out of that other process. Okay. And I'll just bump this using the arrow keys till it's where it needs to be. Of course, this arrow needs to be pointing down. And let's select it. Control, move again. And of course, I could do another control move. Now there's other ways to label this, but we could do it individually is at least one way. So I'm going to move this like this, and when I do, notice that that leader is flipping around to the sides. Okay, and so anyway, we can go back and do all the labeling if we want. These right here are joist, so I'm going to label them a little differently. I'm still going to use a text. You still use the same size of text. And these were, let's escape out of that for a second. Twice and twice. And these were 12K1 K-series open web joists. So I'm going to go back to text here and place the text in. K12 open web joist. And let's zoom in a little bit. Okay. And the convention often on this, we'll just move it to right here. Okay. Notice it's set up so that it breaks the lines. It's got an opaque background. And then we're going to add actually a leader. Whoops, I didn't do. Let's modify. Okay, we want to add a leader to that side and add a leader to this side. Okay. And we're going to draw a line till we get right to those joints. And what this tells, should tell someone, is that all of these lines here are open web joists from point A to point B. Okay. And of course we could do that repeating it, but we're going to assume that it's repeated itself. So we've got dimensions in and some text, and it's looking pretty good right now. So I'm going to save this view. Oh, it's automatically saved. But I am going to rename it. So I'm going to go in here and rename this view, and we're going to call this second plan. And so now that becomes the name of that view. And you'll see why naming it the way you want it to appear in your view is important. So the next thing I'm going to do is let's WT this. And we really don't need this view. Now let's open our, we don't need that view either. And let's go to our sheet and open it up. So I'm going to open the sheet up, W2 it. Okay. And now I'm ready to set the view into the sheet.